Hello, I'm Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
And I'm First Lady Amy Eshelman.
We're excited to welcome you to the reimagined Virtual World Music Festival Chicago, a series of free concerts featuring artists from Chicago and across the globe on Sundays throughout the month of September.
This new concert series is part of a robust calendar of virtual events honoring many of Chicago's beloved music festivals that were canceled in response to the coronavirus pandemic to protect the health and safety of our residents and visitors.
Music has long been our universal language and the common thread that ties people together across culture, time, and now, more than ever, physical distance. As the birthplace of gospel and house music, electric blues, and modern jazz, Chicago's sounds and melodies reflect the diversity and dynamism of the people and communities we all call home.
This new series is presented by Chicago's Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. Thanks to them, we'll continue to celebrate the Year of Chicago Music, now extended through 2021.
During these years of Chicago music, DCASE is committed to showcasing the incredible musicians, organizations, and venues that make up our diverse and legendary music scene. While celebrating Chicago's rich music legacy, we will also lift up Chicago's immigrant voices that connect us to the broader world, because music has the power to unite us.
For the complete schedule, please visit worldmusicfestivalchicago.org.
Take care, Chicago, and please continue to be safe.
Hello, thank you for joining us for Virtual World Music Festival Chicago, a series of virtual events and concerts celebrating Chicago. Virtual World Music Festival Chicago will take place right here on the DCASE YouTube channel every Sunday in September from 1 to 3 p.m. Join the conversation on social media using hashtag World Music Festival Chicago. Virtual World Music Festival Chicago is part of Global Music Month 2020, an online festival joining 19 different festivals and presenters events under one banner for a month-long celebration of international music, August 29th through October 1st. Visit globalmusicmonth.org for more information. Our upcoming performers have social media information pinned on screen while they perform. Find them online to follow, listen more, and please support. The following performance is supported in part by an award from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Chicago Transit Authority. We hope that you enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Ray Quinn, and welcome to Martyrs, 3855 North Lincoln Avenue in Chicago. We're here to record for the World Music Fest Chicago. Well, when I first opened Martyrs, when we were working on getting this place open in '94, my friend Cullen McCann, who has been a good friend of mine for a long time and a great supporter of Irish music in Chicago and really everywhere, brought over Lawrence Nugent, who had just arrived to the city. But we decided to get something going here on a regular basis with traditional music at Martyrs. The first group that we put together for a regular Monday night show here at Martyrs was The Tide, and it was kind of an all-star group of some of the best traditional players in Chicago. Gradually, not everyone could make it every Monday, so we decided to split The Tide up into several different bands, and out of that grew a band called Behola, featuring Jimmy Keane, Pat Broders, and Sean Cleland. Lawrence Nugent started doing one Monday a month. Jackie Moran was here with a group that started called Ganbua, and so many others. We'd like to say a big thanks to our friends who were unable to make it from Ireland, Marcin O'Connor, Cathal Hayden, Shamie O'Dowd, and Jimmy Higgins, and also here in Chicago, Liz Carroll. were unable to be here today due to the pandemic. We also want to send out our best wishes to our buddy Dennis Cahill, but we are got a great set of music here with Jackie Moran, Lawrence Nugent, Brendan Bulger, and Jesse Langen.
There were three farmers from the north, and as they were passing by, they swore an oath, the mighty oath, John Barleycorn should die. One of them says we'll drown him, and the other says hang him high. A whiff of the stick of the barley grain, and a begging we will die. With me fall the wreck and me to relax, whack for diddle day. They put poor Barley into the stack on a cold and rainy day. They carried him off to the garden field, they buried him in the clay. The frost and snow began to melt and the dew began to fall. The barley grain rolled up and he said, "I'll soon surprise them all." With me fall the wreck and me to relax, whack for diddle day. Been in the summer season with the harvest coming on. He stands up in the field with a beard like any man. The reaper came to wield his sickle, he used me barbarously. He cut me by the middle so small, he cut me above the knee. With me fall the wreck and me to relax, whack for diddle day. Then in came Master Binder and he looked at me with a frown. For in the middle there was a thistle which brought its courage down. The farmer came with his pitchfork, he pierced me through the heart. Like thief or robber or highwayman, they tied me to the cart. With me fall the wreck and me to relax, whack for diddle day. The thresher came with his flail, he nearly broke me bones. 'Twould grieve the man or any man to hear me sighs and moans. The next thing that they done to me was they threw me in the well. They left me there for a day and a half until I began to swell. With me fall the wreck and me to relax, whack for diddle day. The next thing that they done to me was they dried me in the kiln. They used me 10 times worse than that when they ground me in the mill. They used me in the kitchen and they used me in the hall. They used me up in the parlour among the ladies all. With me fall the wreck and me to relax, whack for diddle day. The barley grain is a comical grain, it makes men sigh and moan. For when they take a glass of me, they forget the wives at home. The drunkard, he's a dirty man, and he uses me worst of all. He takes me up in his filthy mouth, and he uses me up with all. And with me fall the wreck and me to relax, whack for diddle day. There were three farmers from the north, and as they were passing by, they swore an oath, a mighty oath, John Barleycorn should die. One of them says we'll drown him, and the other says hang him high. A whiff of the stick of the barley grain, and a begging we will die. With me fall the wreck and me to relax, whack for diddle day.
Hi, my name is Richie Piggott. I'm originally from Ireland, from Cove, County Cork. I'm here for the last 23 years in Chicago. And over the last 8 to 10 years, I've been researching the Irish traditional music here in the city. My interest and my specific area of interest in the music here in Chicago is effectively the last 100 years here in the city. And during that 100-year period, there were two waves of immigration from Ireland. The first was after the Civil War, and then the second wave of immigration was after World War II, up to the present day. And those immigrants, they left Ireland with very little other than the clothes on their back and a few shillings in their pocket. And they came to Chicago and settled in two areas. One was in Chicago South Side, and the other was in the Chicago North and West Side. And there they married, had children, and played Irish music, song and dance. I'll just dip into that 100-year period now and give you some examples of the people who came during that time. The first is a man called Jimmy Neary. He came to Chicago in 1929, and at that time he was a really very good musician. He was a good fiddle player. He came from a very musical family, so he fitted well straight away into the Irish music scene here in Chicago. At that time as well, there were open-air concerts held every summer in Chicago, and during one of those concerts he heard a very young fiddle player playing, and it really struck him how good a player he was, so he introduced himself. The young player was Johnny McGreevy. He was only 15 years of age at the time, born here in Chicago of Irish parents. And Jimmy became his mentor and his teacher, and they were lifelong friends for the rest of their lives. This was in 1934, and at the same time, they met with a young piano player who was playing at the World Fair in 1934. Her name was Eleanor Kane, and again, Jimmy became her teacher, taught both Johnny McGreevy and Eleanor for a number of years, and in 1939, Jimmy married Eleanor. In the early 1940s, they moved into a house at 6123 South Washtenaw, and that house became the mecca of Irish music for the next 60 years. People from all over the US came to visit him and play in that house. Famous fiddle players from New York like Andy McGann, Paddy Killoran, Paddy Sweeney, Paddy Reynolds, they all came to visit him in that house. A lot of musicians came from Ireland, and Ciarán McMahuna came over and recorded many programs of his American Job of Journey work in their house as well. So that house really became the centre of Irish music for at least 50 years in Chicago. It was also a great training ground for some very young up-and-coming musicians here in Chicago who are now internationally known. Musicians like Liz Carroll, Jimmy Keane, Marty Fahy, Johnny Harling, they all also spent time with Jimmy and Eleanor and Johnny McGreevy in that house, and really today they would tell you it was the best training ground they ever received. So that's Jimmy Neary, example of one of the immigrants who came over in the 20s. Kerry Tehan, came from County Kerry. He was known as Cuz Tehan. He was taught by one of the last great fiddle masters in the Slieve Lugar area of County Kerry called Padraig O'Keefe. So he was a very good musician by the time he came here in 1933. He was also a teacher of music himself, and he taught some of the Chicago musicians and also some of the immigrants here how to play the Irish music, including Tom O'Malley and Tommy Sheehan, for example. Terry joined a band called Tom Tracy's Band, and that was one of the most popular bands here in Chicago in the 40s, 50s, right through the 60s. In the 1960s, he got quite ill, so he stopped playing for a while. And then in the 70s, he came back again with a bang. He formed a band with three ladies, with Una Midlou, with Maida Shugru, and Mary McDonough, and that band was the most popular band here in the 70s and 80s. They appeared on many local radio shows and local TV shows. And as well as a good musician, Cuz was also a good composer of Irish music. And in 1980, he published a book of his own compositions called Road to Downtown.
Courting is a pleasure between my love and I, and it's down in yonder valley I will meet her by and by. Down in yonder valley she is my heart's delight, and it's with my lovely Molly I'll stay till the broad daylight. While going to church last Sunday, my love she passed me by. I could see her mind was changing by the roving of her eye. See, her mind was altered to a man of high degree, and it's Molly, lovely Molly, how your looks have wounded me. I raise up high a bottle and I hold it in my hand, saying, take us up now, Molly, our courtship it's at an end. Take us up now, Molly, leave the bottom dry to me, for there's money made on wages laid that married we will never be. Never court a maiden with the dark and the roving eye. Just kiss her and caress her, never tell her the reason why. Kiss her and caress her, it will cause her heart to yield, for a faint-hearted soldier never won on the battlefield. So then fare thee well to Prairie, and likewise to Mayo, and fare thee well, my Molly, wherever you may go. America is far away across the ocean blue, and it's there I'll go, my Molly, and again will I never see you.
The second wave of emigration came after World War II, and an example of a man who came to Chicago during that time is Kevin Henry. Kevin was born in Dewcastle, County Mayo, and he came into Chicago in late 1955. He was a great piper, flute player, and tin whistle player. And the following year, 1956, Kevin was instrumental in forming what was known as the IMA, the Irish Musicians Association of America. It was an organization formed here in Chicago, basically to promote, teach, and preserve the Irish traditional music. And Kevin was very, very active in that organization right from the beginning. They played a lot of concerts here in the city, a lot of benefits. In 1966, that organization disbanded. And Kevin set up what he called Picnic in the Park, which was essentially a picnic every year, an open-air concert every year of traditional Irish music, which ran for almost 20 years. He was also a really good teacher of Irish music. He taught Michael Flatley how to play the flute, for example. There's a great piper here now in the city called Sean Gavin. Sean was taught by Kevin both on the pipes and the flute, so he was passing on his music through the younger people. He was an expert. He really admired O'Neill's work. He knew and understood music, his life and his music, and he often gave presentations on O'Neill and his life. So that was Kevin Henry, who just passed away earlier this year. What went on here in the city, in Chicago, was extremely important because a lot of Irish music, traditional Irish music in Ireland at the time, was being lost. It was there in the countryside, but in the urban cities there was moving away from the Irish tradition and a move more towards more modern music, to show bands and so on. And a lot of the music here was really kept alive and then brought back to Ireland. There was a famous tour, for example, organised by a man here called Frank Thornton. Frank was originally from Moyvan, County Kerry. He came over here. He said when he left, there were 32 flute players, and he went back 2 years later for a holiday, and there was only 2 of them left. And that really upset him, you know. So he came back, he started teaching music here in Chicago, and in 1959, he organised a tour of American-born Irish traditional musicians to tour Ireland. And it was a huge success. He just was determined to keep that music alive, you know. So I think what happened here in the city, in Chicago, and in other cities, San Francisco, New York, Cincinnati, a lot of where the immigrants kept the music alive was very, very important in maintaining the tradition. The last immigrant I'll give an example of who came after the war is a man who's still alive today and well, called Tom O'Malley, an accordion player. Tom came to the city in 1951. He learned a lot of his music actually from Cuz Tehan, the man I mentioned earlier on who came in the 30s. He became a resident musician in some of the local taverns here in the city in the 50s. Like the Harp and Shamrock Tavern and the B&H Tavern. And also he became a resident musician in Jack Hanley's House of Happiness, which was one of the most famous bars here in the city, just before Joe Cooley came into town. So Tom is another example, one of those immigrants who came in the 50s and was an active member of the IMA during the mid-60s. He was instrumental in setting up the first flaccules ever in anywhere outside of Ireland when they started the IMA flaccules in 1964, which ran for 6 years. 3 years in the Keyman's Club and 3 years in St. Pat's. So these are just examples of some of the immigrants who came here to Chicago from Ireland with essentially nothing, but they had their music, they had their song, they had their dance, and they kept that tradition alive primarily through house parties and setting up organizations to make sure that that music was passed on. I'll just finish by giving a quote from a very well-known accordion player up in Minnesota called Paddy O'Brien, Paddy from County Offaly. I always liked, he quoted one time that he said, it's a lot of these unknown players, he called them the secret players, who no one will ever know about, who through their music and dance they kept the actual tradition and the spirit of the music alive.
1, 2, 3.
What's important about Chicago is you have Ireland actually in one city, because immigrants came from every part of Ireland. So you find people here from Mayo, from the West Coast, from Mayo, Galway. You have the South, a lot of people here from Cork and Kerry, but also from the East Coast and the North. And they're all here together. So you have an amalgamation of the whole of Ireland in one city. And there you have all of the regional traditions blending together, which I think is really important.
So I'm not a historian, but I can tell you about my history about coming to this country. We emigrated when I was 9.5 to the northwest side of Chicago. I was a small kid with a dodgy accent, so I was picked on a lot actually when I was a kid. But my saving grace was that we were in the northwest side of Chicago, where there was a huge enclave of Irish immigrants. So we just went right into playing Irish music and hanging around other Irish people. The closest session to my house was the Abbey Pub, and the people that were running the session there were Liz Carroll, John Williams, Christy Berry. Later on, Martin Hayes came in. Through that pub and through different pubs around the northwest side of Chicago, there were so many people from Ireland that were influential that came in, and that's who I learned from. Later on, I started to get more into other percussions and different things. As a 16-year-old, I was very precocious, and then I formed a band with other people in Chicago, which was one of the first Irish rock bands in the United States, called the Drovers. When we moved to this country, my house was half a block away from Cuz Tians, who was an amazing accordion player, and he's one of the guys that I would play with. I remember being at a Kiltus convention, which is an Irish music convention. There was about 35 people playing in the session. I'm standing there with Kathleen Keene, and I think it was Sean Ryan, 2 other people my age. And we were just, 15, 16 years old, looking at this, wondering if we want to actually join this big, huge session. And then all of a sudden, Tom O'Malley, Kevin Henry, Albert Neary, all these old guys came up around us, and they said, "Would you look at that? Would you look at that?" And we're looking around going, "Okay, well, yeah, there's a lot of people in there." And all the old guys were like, "They don't know what they're doing. This is horrible. This is horrible. They're ruining the music. We should go in that corner and start a proper session. All of us that know how to play." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, we should show these young people how to play." And I'm looking around going, "I'm younger than most of the people there." And Kevin was like, "You know what I'm talking about. Let's go over there." So I was always with those old people and learned so much from the Irish that were here already.
Three.
The spirit of Irish music is really, it's all around dance, you know. Irish music was primarily played for people to dance to. It's lively, it's happy music, it's music that wants you to get up and dance. And that's really, really the spirit of it. There is an element of sadness in it. The slow airs, they're called, they're really sad. And that's a lot to do with immigration, because from time immemorial, Ireland had immigration, people leaving. In the early days, people were leaving, and they knew once they left that they would never, ever get back. So there's an element of sadness, and that's primarily buried in the slow airs. But the actual tunes, you know, the jigs, the reels, it's really all around dance. It's all around being happy, and that's part and parcel of the tradition.
Hey, Chicago, you stayed home for months and saved lives. And now, because of all your hard work, we can go out. But we have to be safe. As long as we follow proper precaution, wear face coverings, social distance, we're good to go. on some pants, please, and head back to the office. Go ahead, get the pedicure, or get that tattoo that you won't regret. Dine al fresco and eat food you didn't make. Or the libraries are open, check out a book. It's like a podcast, but on paper. Get that root canal. Work on your short game. Enjoy yourself outside, but please remember, be safe, Chicago. And if you'll excuse me, there's one last thing I gotta do. That's better. Be safe, Chicago.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Please join us for Virtual Music Festival Chicago every Sunday in September, 1 to 3 p.m., right here on the DCASE YouTube channel. Find the full schedule at worldmusicfestivalchicago.org and join the conversation on social media with hashtag World Music Festival Chicago. Be sure to check out other great performances as part of Global Music Month 2020, August 29th through October 1st, an online celebration of music from around the world. Visit globalmusicmonth.org for the full schedule. The performance you just watched is supported in part by an award from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Chicago Transit Authority. Thank you to everyone who supported the Arts for Illinois Relief Fund, which is giving critical assistance to our local artists and cultural organizations impacted by COVID-19. Visit sweethomechicago.org to watch an amazing new music video benefiting the fund and donate if you can. We hope you join us for more upcoming events presented by Mayor Lori Lightfoot and the Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events.